To the Major League Gaming Anaheim StarCraft 2 tournament. We had a pretty one-sided first map of this best of three, but we're already loaded into game number 2 to find out if our American player can bring it back against this Titan, this Terran Captain American Titan. It is CM Storm's Polt as our red Terran in the bottom left of Overgrowth. He's up 1-0, man. He is playing well. His opponent in the top right, representing Root Gaming, the blue Terran player, it is Illusion.
You had a spot-on prediction with what you'd like to call crazy of a style here by Illusion. So I'm going to give you another shot here to prove how smart you are once again. What do you think we're going to see here out of Illusion?
On this map, I personally like gas first builds. There's not as much cliff space to use for Reapers, but it's kind of an in-between answer because there's so many different directions that you can go with them. The most aggressive the most aggressive style that you can really pull out is just straight for Hellion drop. Yeah, it's
gas first is made. All right, keep going.
That's too easy.
What's next?
The best way to do it if you want to catch somebody off guard, and this is a build I really like to do, is you go for the barracks at 13 supply, you go factory, but you stick on one gas, and you go for a really fast Hellion drop, like 3 Hellions, 6 Marines, and you try
the
to
elevator, right?
Yeah, you try to elevate her into your opponent's base. Like, if they don't see it, it's... I think back to Neeb versus Tasia in WCS America. You have the underdog Neeb, and Tasia doesn't scout it, and it's basically a free win, but... Polt
I've seen Daishi actually win some games with this against Jack G and some very strong Terrans. Yeah. I think Bomber as well.
Why do you think I do it? it's so easy if they don't scout it. It's great.
I think Polt should be able to scout it. I mean, he's sending an SCV early on to see exactly what he's up against.
Yeah, I mean, it could still be Banshee. I wouldn't be surprised if Illusion went that way either. It all comes down to when he decides to take that second gas, if he does. And could go Widow Mine. So there's lots of options. It's kind of...
I assume it's difficult to get Cloak if you don't get a second gas, though, right?
Yeah. Even then, there's some crazy builds where you don't get Cloak and you still go Banshee. But this SCV comes in, and Polt's going to confirm, okay, it's a gas-first build. He knows there's the potential for either the fast medevac play, the fast Banshee play, what have you. And Illusion scouting SCV gets picked off, but he saw about as much as you'd really need to see in this stage of the game. He knows that the barracks was out fast enough for that Marine to be earlier than Illusion's, which means it had to be a barracks opening. The only thing he doesn't know is that gas timing, because if you don't open up with a Reaper, sometimes you think, is my opposing Terran opponent going for gas? Is it a late gas build, or
but the double depot doesn't tell him any more than that?
I don't really think that it does. Lots of players like to get their depot pretty fast, the second one at least.
All right, so Illusion's gonna have to put a little bit more effort into trying to scout what he's up against, I guess, a little bit later on, and the starport is going to start here. What does he get? Is it a Widow Mine? Is it a Hellion?
At the second gas, it almost, I feel like it has to be Banshee. Like, he builds the tech lab, moves it over, moves the starport. Banshee is never really bad. There's always ways to force things out of it. If you look at even the last map, aside from the fact that Polt killed a lot of SCVs and Marines with his Banshees, because he's Polt, you still force an engineering bay, several missile turrets, and Illusion at one point had to build additional missile turrets in his natural. You never want to have to use 2 to cover against Banshees. That's just the threat that it brings if you're not 100% prepared. But Polt's starport, for the build that he's done, it's kind of this. He's really kind of the same build that Illusion has done. He's just decided not to get his gas before his barracks.
Yeah, and he didn't have gas first. Do you think he gets a Viking first, like we've seen him do so many times against Zerg?
I think it's a medevac. He's going to get a medevac. What Polt is doing is the non-gas first version of kind of what I was talking about with the Hellions and Marines, but it's I'm not sure that there's like a clear edge either way. Just having that Marine earlier makes him a little bit safer against something like any type of cheese, really.
What's Polt going to make right after this medevac and this Hellion comes out?
Should be a Viking. He could build a Viking and a Widow Mine, which would be a really great way to defend against the Banshee, because if it flies into the Widow Mine before it has Cloak, Polt's basically one scan away from dealing a lot of... Well, you shut down the first Banshee, and you have a massive lead in this matchup.
Okay. We have Cloak now halfway through down for Illusion. The first Banshee is going to be sent across the map. He doesn't go for a second Banshee, but a Raven instead. What do you think about this? Actually, the Banshee, hold on.
It might have been you that I talked to about this, but there's a lot of Korean players that like to go for multiple Banshees. It's oftentimes not these guys. So
Polt chose to go around that Banshee, by the way. He saw it coming. Yeah. He's starting turrets back at home.
He saw it with the tower. He knows, but he has the Viking on the way, those 2 missile turrets, and even though he's on 1 base, there's not a lot here to fight for Illusion. These 3 Hellions can kill all these Marines in 1 volley if he can line them up properly. And with the medevac support, fighting head-to-head is very difficult. Stops the production on the command center. Illusion suddenly in quite a bit of trouble. That Banshee's going to walk face first into a wall of pain, basically. And these SCVs for Illusion stacking up quite nicely. The Raven is out, but not even has time to drop an auto turret. Polt's just going to try to go for a quick 2. Oh, here these SCVs fighting with Marines. It's going to be a little bit too much, I feel. GG, Polt. Well, that Hellion Marine drop can do quite a bit, even if it goes straight through the front door.
I don't think that crazy works against Polt.
No.
Safe to say.
No. That's a good game by Polt, and it feels like, yeah, that's, you know, not the epic long macro game of Terran versus Terran that we all know and love, but it's just sharp play. Polt brings builds that are so sharp and his play is so crisp that you're not going to get away.
You know, I thought he had to fight that Banshee before Cloak finished, but he was like, you know what, I'm just going to go around, start turrets back at home. You can have Cloak all you want. It's not going to do anything. I have a Viking as well to really help with that. And in this case, the Banshee kind of flew into Polt's base, saw the turrets, pulled back, and in the same time, Polt was killing Illusion back at home.
Yeah, it's just one of those situations where if you want to be that aggressive, you need to leave something back home. You either have to build a Widow Mine or the Viking. In this case, Polt built turrets because he knows that it would not only help against a Banshee, but it would also be a great way to defend against a Widow Mine drop because he would have detection without needing to scan.
If there was the second Banshee on the way, would it have been easier for Illusion to possibly hold this attack?
The second Banshee would help kill the Marines, but with the healing support of the medevac, even then it's still really tricky. Like it definitely helps. It's doable, but at that point...
So what, you should bunker up? How do you stop this?
The auto turret
Every time I've seen these builds, he's never lost.
I think it also comes down to what you mentioned, and Illusion didn't really get a chance to scout what was coming. Like, you see a barracks opener, and for me, when I see a barracks opener, the last thing I expect are mirror builds when I'm going gas first, because he still went straight for the starport. But in that particular situation, if Illusion knows that it's coming, like imagine if he puts his couple depots to wall off like his main base ramp, then the Hellions can't run up, he has to get the drop in. And if he needs the medevacs to get all those units into his base, then suddenly the 10 Marines or so that Illusion has really help him to defend against the push.
Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I've learned so much about TVT just now with this one match, even though it was pretty one-sided. Thank you, Nathanias. We're going to have a break, and then we'll be right back with the next game. See you soon. Don't go anywhere.
That was short.